Okay, let's make another video about women and children and why it's so important for women to attune to our natural desire to be mothers and for men to attune to their natural desire to be fathers. We are in a very selfish society where it's all me, 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 me. And I will tell you that in my experience, and you can leave your comment if you disagree, the only time in my life, the only place in my life where I unselfishly gave, unselfishly, was for my children. You may experience something like that if you have a pet. It could be similar. I don't know. I didn't feel that way about any of my pets. You know, when they had that assassination at the Trump rally and the guy protected his kids, I would have done the same thing. There's no question in my mind that I would have thrown my body over that of my children and even my ex-husband. I would have done it. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't know if I would have actually, but immediately I'm like, I would have done that too. I wouldn't have done that for a dog, but it's that natural inborn bond that we feel to our children that makes us want to protect them, raise them, love them, and sacrifice for them with such great love. It's a selfless act of service, you know. And sure, we get a lot out of it. You know, they adore us, they appreciate us, they put us on a pedestal. They kind of do boost our ego. That's the shadow part of being a parent. But we have to love them when they're needy, and we have to love them when they discard us and go out into the world. And we have to grow how to be better parents, how to recognize someone's individuality, how to communicate, how to let things go, how to wake up in the middle of the night when we don't feel like it, over and over and over. It's selfless service, you guys, selfless service. So people who don't get to experience that are not as fully developed. If you've never experienced that, you have missed out on a very important part of human development. And if you never want that, I'm not going to say there's something wrong with you. I don't want to judge you, but it's strange to me. I understand that some people do not have children because they had infertility issues, or they just still haven't met the right person yet. But that's different from not wanting them at all. Not wanting them at all is very strange. And it's something that we in society have to speak out against. And there are more people speaking out against it. Louise Perry, who wrote The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, is currently working on another book about motherhood and family. And she's very religious. She does it from a religious point of view, I think. I'm not religious. I'm not doing this from a religious point of view. Since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a mom because I love my mom. She loved having children. I wanted to have children. I think some people don't want to have children because their childhood was full of trauma. But even the lady on YouTube, the crappy childhood fairy who had a very abusive childhood, she has childhood PTSD. The crappy childhood fairy, you might want to check her out. She's a mom. There is a part of a woman's heart that's opened, epigenetics, you can call it even too, part of her genes that are activated through pregnancy, through birthing, through breastfeeding, through mothering. There's a part of us that's opened and enlivened, and there's no other way you can get it. Not through a pill, not through do you girl. And all these YouTube channels of women proud to not be a mother, these women all seem very cold to me. They don't seem warm and nourishy, you know? Now, it's great that people have options, but I'm just saying, why are you choosing that? It's just weird to me. I don't think it's healthy. Now, some people will say, but children are expensive. Children have always been expensive. Children have always required a sacrifice. There was a brief period in US history, or maybe in the world history, from 1950 to maybe 2010, that we had a huge rise in the middle class and people started expecting a lot out of their lives. But the first house I bought was built in 1937. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. And in that house, my ex-husband and I had our first 2 children while we each drove used, cheap cars. There was no $800 a month car payment. There was no huge fucking mortgage. Our mortgage was the equivalent of our annual income. I mean, the mortgage we got was the equivalent of our annual income. Now, you can't do that in New York or San Francisco or San Diego, where I currently live. If I were a young woman today, I would move to a cheap town in the Midwest, maybe Montana, a cheap town. I would try to find a man who was also family oriented and a good worker, like a masculine man. And I would buy a house together with him that had some backyard for the kids. And I would have children there. And I would share a used car. I know couples who share one used car. I know couples in their 20s and early 30s in Nebraska, where I'm from, that have bought a house. Even a single man bought a house, because you can still do that if you're willing to live in Nebraska. Okay, but if you want to live on the coast and you want to have a brand new car and drive a Lexus and buy $1,000 purses and go on vacations, then those are your priorities. And there's something very broken about people who have forgotten the connection to nature, to the universe, and to our animal spirits. And I think we need more people to just speak out to that, because these globalists are leading us down a very dark path. They don't want us to have children, not because they want us to depopulate, because they want to do like test tube babies and transgenderism. I do not know what their agenda is actually. They want us to eat bugs. I don't know if any of that is true. But there's a lot of push towards just very garish behavior that is very moving away from our connection to our heart, our soul, and the earth. Now, I'm not a prude. I have a just for fans. I got my sugar daddies, like I'm a sexual being. I'm a little bit of an outlier, but I'm also a mother. And I will tell you that there is nothing that would have kept me from protecting my children, like a mama bear. You know, a mama bear, she's willing to jump in front of a car to save her cubs. That's what being a mother brings out in people. If you've never experienced that because you'd rather go shopping or have me time, it's just, you just missed out. And it's fucking hard. It's hard when you're tired and you have to get up at 5 in the morning because your kids are crying. It's kind of like when you have a dog. You're in an apartment and you have a dog and you have to get up. You got to get out and walk your dog several times a day. It's kind of like that, but more. And it is a sacrifice. The way that a lot of people manage to do it, if you're still on this video and you're like, but how can I make this happen? As far as the childcare, what some moms do, they have a lot of jobs now, work from home jobs, or they have a part-time nanny, or maybe they change shifts with the husband. The husband watches the kids some days, and then say he's a firefighter and she's a nurse. And so they take turns with the childcare. Some people live close to family, to the grandparents. The grandparents may even move closer to you. And the grandparents, some of the grandparents do a lot of the babysitting. Some women choose to go to part-time work. There are different kind of living situations, I don't know, but what I think that people have to remain in touch with is that they can be parents and their desire to be parents. And you don't have to have everything lined up to do it. It's helpful if you have a spouse that you get along with who is mentally and emotionally stable enough to be emotionally present for you and for the child, and who can also add resources and money to the relationship. That's very helpful, because getting divorced and being a single mom just makes it super hard, even harder than it already is. But a lot of it you just learn as you go along. You don't have to have a house to have a child. You don't need to have a big house. You don't need to have everything, you know. You can start out with nothing. That's what people have always done. People had babies in the Depression. People had babies when they were poor. I think that people, you know, there's only a small percentage of the population that's going to have children with a bunch of nannies running around that make it easy for you. It's not supposed to be easy. And your children are not going to love the nanny. They're going to want you. So I think, just my personal opinion, ideally the mother works part-time. Ideally the mother takes like 3 to 6 months off when the babies are little, maybe even a year, and then works part-time until the children are in school, and then works full-time, ideally. Because a woman working contributes to the household, she has some independence, she knows she can work full-time if she has to, in case he loses his job, or he dies, or they get divorced, and she's not beholden to him, because the person making the money has the power. And if the woman isn't working, then she is forever at his whim, and she cannot afford to leave him, and she loses her voice in the relationship. That's what happened to me. I'll never make that mistake again. But, you know, I mean, I'm not saying anybody's life is perfect, but definitely having children. Now, I have 3 children. I would have kept going, but my ex-husband was like, Sharzad, he was already 40 when our last child was born. I was 35. He's like, I'm done with having children, because he was a very involved father. He goes, there are other things I want to do with my life. But because he was such a good father, I was willing to have more. When you see a woman who wants to have a lot of children, you know she's got a good dad, a good husband right there. But just because he's a good husband and a good dad doesn't mean that he is not worth leaving, because our sex life was really bad. And after 25 years and him not wanting to change a single thing about it, he's like, our sex life is fine. I have no problem with it, Sharzad. If you have a problem, that's your problem. 25 years of that, I was done. But I do not regret my marriage or my children at all. So this is just another invitation for people to check in. It's like, do I want to be a parent? And if I do, what are the steps I'm willing to take to become a parent? And that's why I say, guys, do not get involved with women who just want you to spend money on purses and shoes and frivolous bullshit and expensive dinners. How are you going to get set up for buying a house, having children, and building like a nest? You know, you want to look for women, guys. I think ideally you look for women who are family oriented, mother oriented. They don't want to spend all your money. They want to see that you're putting the money towards a house, and that you can do projects around the house, that you want to build a family life, a life together. And she wants to contribute to that life, because she would rather cook or make a sandwich. Make a sandwich, fuck you, and not talk, right? Building a life together is about saving your money for the important things, not these $800 a month car payments. You know, that's just crazy stuff. That's for millionaires, frankly. Anyway, I've gone on enough. I'm kind of on a high horse about this, but I don't care. I think people need to have some opinions about things. This is not to shame people who don't want children, but I don't get it, frankly. So thank you for watching my video, and I'll be back for the comments.